Hello, it's Susan Duclos with All News Pipeline. It's March 11th, 2015. What we're looking at is a piece that I wrote on March 9th. The Endgame is Here. America surrenders militarily while preparing for war against the U.S. citizens. Now, what we're going to go through here is explained in the first paragraph. While China, Iran, Russia, and other countries are building up their military strength, utilizing technology that has turned the U.S. military into sitting ducks, flexing their military and nuclear capability might, the U.S. is busy dismantling their military piece by piece, leader by leader, and dollar by dollar, along with our nuclear stockpiles, and pouring more and more resources into the Department of Homeland Security, who's been stockpiling weapons, ammo, now trying to federalize the local law enforcement agencies, and declaring American citizens a greater threat than terror groups such as ISIS. We start at the beginning. The start of it. Weakening America and dismantling the U.S. military. Hundreds of military leaders have been removed over the last 6 years. We're talking commanding generals, commanding admirals, naval officers, Air Force majors, Army generals, and more. Now, the last great stand, and this is linked over in the article, which our article will be put into the details of this video, so you can click on over and you can go take a look at all of these links and see for yourself and do your own research. They compiled a list of names of all these military personnel that have been let go. It's been a purge like we've never seen before. Then we go over to the U.S. Department of State in an April 2014 transparency report, which lets us know exactly how much of our nuclear stockpile has been destroyed. The number represents 85% reduction in the stockpile from its maximum, which was 31,255 at the end of the fiscal year 1967, and a 78% reduction from its levels when the Berlin Wall fell in 1989. So you can check out that link also. Now, on January 15th, it was reported that reckless cuts to military spending leaves America vulnerable. Within the report by the Observer, we see the following statement: air supremacy in doubt. General unsure U.S. can win a war. In a year, we will only be able to deploy 2 carrier groups worldwide, down from 3 currently and 5 just a year ago. Then we have a recent report where during some war games, a French submarine was able to sink an entire U.S. aircraft carrier. And as it says here, most of it's escort too. And they make it very clear that this was no way expected by the U.S., but it gives you a good example of exactly how much we've been weakened, where even in a training exercise we lose to the French. Now, while we're busy dismantling everything and purging our military and taking money away from our defense spending, Russia is acquiring new vessels for their naval strength. They're developing technology, electronic warfare technology systems that basically turns the U.S. military into helpless sitting ducks. They're also flexing their military and nuclear might, with warnings from the Russian President Vladimir Putin himself, who told a group of youngsters recently, "Thank God, I think no one is thinking of unleashing a large-scale conflict with Russia. I want to remind you that Russia is one of the leading nuclear powers." He's shooting a bow across the deck here, folks. He's letting you know. He's preparing. There's also been stories showing they're preparing drills with their central nuclear bases, and they're also preparing their population. Washington Post reported that the Russia's anti-American fever goes beyond the Soviet eras. They're also simulating attack scenarios on NATO ships. And don't forget, we're pushing more sanctions. We're pushing closer to outright war with Russia. We're sending armor to ballistic states to deter Russia. We're sending people to Ukraine. We're just pushing this as far as we can get. And There's only so far you can push Putin. He's going to start pushing back. He already is. Now, his new geopolitical, economic, and military best friend, China, they're also strengthening their military. Recent announcements, which include the new DF-31 for multiple warheads, and CNN reports that China's to narrow the gap with the U.S. by increasing their military spending. Then we have Iran, where reports are coming out saying Barack Obama's agreed to 80% of their nuclear program demands. And you have reports coming out that Iran is bragging that America is begging for a deal. Then we get to the other part of this, how the U.S. government is preparing for war on its own citizens. With the U.S. basically surrendering economic and military dominance more and more each year, let's take a look at what we've done. As of September 2014, reports showed that 40% of used U.S. military equipment has been given to local and state police departments within the United States as part of the controversial Defense Department's 1033 program. Quite a few questions raised about whether local police across America should have access to the same equipment used on battlefields in Afghanistan and Iraq, in what many see as the militarization of local and state law enforcement agencies. Now, according to Executive Gov and Federal Times and others, while decreasing military spending recklessly, the U.S. is increasing the Department of Homeland Security funding every year, and Obama's latest request was for an additional $3.7 billion in DHS funding for the 2016 fiscal year. The official claim is the money would go towards more border agents. That really made me laugh, since we're basically just letting everyone in, and then he's providing amnesty for them, but I don't want to digress here. It's also claimed that this additional funding would fund anti-terrorism efforts and beef up its cybersecurity programs. But recent reports indicate the additional DHS targets aren't terror groups, nor preventing illegal immigration. U.S. government agencies have also been stockpiling weapons and ammo. Now, DHS has labeled right-wing extremists a greater threat than terror organization ISIS. Now, ISIS beheads journalists and aid workers, kills Christians across the globe. They even burned a Jordanian pilot in a cage, then filmed it all and released it in videos. Now, in 2013, it was also reported that Army training material listed evangelical Christians, Catholics, and some Jews as religious extremists, alongside the Ku Klux Klan, Hamas, and Al-Qaeda. So you see who our targets are? You're going to see a better example of who our targets are, or who their targets are. One of the most disturbing visual examples of the type of targets was reported in 2013. Law enforcement agencies were using actual targets that represented the threat: pregnant women and children, among others. Here's an example: the kid's holding a gun. The product description: non-traditional threat, depicting a very young boy holding a real gun, designed to prepare officers for the worst possible situation. Who else? Pregnant women holding a gun in a nursery. Non-traditional threat, depicting a hostile pregnant woman in a nursery. Now, the whole series included targets titled Pregnant Women, Older Man 1, Older Man 2, Older Woman, Young Mother, Young Girl, and Little Brother. Each of the depicted subjects is armed. So, after declaring targets, militarizing law enforcement agencies, waging propaganda war on veterans, political opponents, those of religious faith, survivalists, preppers, and other American citizens, here's the piece de resistance. Barack Obama's newest brainstorm. He unveils a plan to further nationalize local police and create what some are calling his Obama Law plan. Take a look through all the links in this and see for yourself. There's also a couple videos in here. DHS points a loaded finger at right-wing sovereign citizen extremists. Obama to expand federal control over state and local police, and Obama pushing military officers, purging U.S. military of officers that'll defend the Constitution. Go through everything Research it all for yourself. This is what's been going on over the past few years, and it's not looking good. Thank you.